So we love talking Shohei Ohtani on this show, but as a fan of the sport of baseball, anyone should love talking Shohei Ohtani. But unfortunately, we got some devastating news this past week that the pitching version of Shohei is done for the year with a UCL tear. This is the second time Shohei has dealt with this type of injury. He had Tommy John just a few seasons ago. Ken Rosenthal made some news, though, by talking about the soon-to-be free agent Shohei's value. We were hearing numbers like 700 million thrown out there. But now, as just a hitter, potentially, that number could get dropped down to a measly $500 million. Kyle, what do you think of projecting Shohei's value if he is reduced to just being a hitter? And do you think, honestly, this is the last time we see Shohei as a pitcher coming off a second elbow injury?
So Shohei is eventually going to pitch again because Shohei wants to pitch again. And he will have the Tommy John surgery. He'll be out for all of next year, but eventually he'll pitch again. Now, where he falls as a pitcher, who knows? Some have said he might end up being a relief pitcher, similar to what he did at the World Baseball Classic for Team Japan. Some have said that he'll come back to the starting rotation. There's not a whole lot of precedent for players who have had two Tommy Johns within 5 years and return to all-star form. The closest comp is like Nathan Eovaldi with the formerly Red Sox and then now with Texas being a star pitcher. But the other examples are like Daniel Hudson closing out a World Series for the Nationals after two Tommy Johns. But besides the point, like, he will eventually pitch again. It's just less likely that he will be a star ace pitcher like he was this year. Before Shohei Ohtani got hurt, I can't believe this is real. He had the lowest opponent batting average in baseball as a pitcher. He had a 186 opponent batting average against him, which is ridiculous. So yeah, he might not be that pitcher again, but he will eventually pitch in some capacity. It's just the team that signs him is going to have to bet on that future when it comes to Ohtani. They're going to have to bet on, do we want him to be a starter again? Will we ask him to throw 200 innings in a season? Will we ask him to be a relief pitcher and only throw 70 innings in a season and come in eighth inning or closing scenarios? That's just going to be the team that ultimately pays him over $500 million a year will have to make that decision.
Zach, we've made fun of the Angels a lot on this show. I affectionately or disaffectionately call them baseball hell just because of their effect on the players on their team, especially when you consider they've had two of the greatest players of all time on their roster and just cannot make a playoff. When you think about that in the context of the Angels, their decision to not trade Shohei, knowing that we won't see the pitching version of him the rest of the year, he's probably not going to be able to reach the 60 home run plateau that he was on pace for earlier in the year. And the fact that he's probably going to leave, how do you quantify the Angels' decision to not trade him for anything? And he's probably gone.
I mean, obviously it just seems like it's a catastrophic mistake, but you also have to think this is a kind of player that no one has seen in a long, long time. I mean, the two-way player has not been around since before World War II. I mean, honestly, this is an asset that I can't even begin to imagine how much value that they put into a player like Shohei Ohtani and what they would want to get in return. You know, I don't think that any team would be willing to meet that asking price. I think that that's just the reality. You know, they probably may or may not have tried to shop him around under the table, and I think teams are just not willing to pay what they were asking. I think, you know, he's gone. The Angels probably tried, but like you mentioned, they're a franchise that always finds a way to lose. Whether it's on the field or off the field, they always find a way to mess things up.
Artie Moreno certainly is the GOAT of like bad owners in the MLB. I think that that's safe to say at this point. Kyle mentioned the possibility of Shohei transitioning to the bullpen. And in a way, I kind of love that idea for him. John Smoltz is a great example of a guy who is a dominant starter and a dominant reliever. I think Shohei can certainly have that element to his career if he continues to pitch. And we'll see coming off of second Tommy John surgery if the velocity is still there. One of his biggest strengths is this is a guy that's literally throwing out there rockets. 100-mile-per-hour rockets are coming out of that right arm. So will he still have that after the second Tommy John? Will he still have the movement on his splitter, his slider, some of the more devastating pitches that this guy brings to the mound? As a closer, why I think I like it almost even better than him being a starter is just how many different ways you can use him and how many different key situations you could infuse him in. I think it makes them even more of a versatile player to be able to use. And heck, even beyond that, we've seen a lot of teams use the opener approach. If I have more flexibility to use Shohei in my rotation, not just limited to being a starting pitcher, I actually think that that might be a better way to use him moving forward, especially as his skills and his moveset tends to age. Yeah, Kyle, I think I actually love the idea of him being a closer in the second stretch of his career, whatever team he goes to next. Is it the same value you think to get the hitter Shohei, the starting pitcher Shohei, versus the closer Shohei and the hitter Shohei?
Well, it seems like the league has kind of already decided he's not going to get $700 million. But who knows? Once the bidding war actually starts, maybe someone's going to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and actually end up paying him like $600 million or $650, or pay him like a top-end starting pitcher, despite the fact that he's about to have surgery. Hell, the Texas Rangers just paid Jacob deGrom $200 million, even though they knew that he had arm troubles. So maybe one team will pay him $150 million to be a pitcher, and all of a sudden now he is getting $700 million on his contract. Who knows? We'll see what happens when free agency rolls around. He's worth what someone is willing to pay for him. Jeff Passan wrote a really good story that kind of put this in context really well, which is basically that we talked about for years, we're going to want to remember this when it's gone because, you know, we're never going to see something like this again. It's so special and we should enjoy it while it's here. I mean, rare is the line of demarcation so pronounced where it's like, okay, he came back from surgery in 2020 and then 2021, 2022, and almost all of 2023, he's playing at an MVP level. He won the MVP in 2021, would have won it last year if not for Aaron Judge hitting 63 home runs in a season. And then this year is going to win unanimous. If he sits the rest of the season, wins unanimous MVP in Major League Baseball. His wins above replacement is 9.8. The next closest player is 5.6. He is so far and away ahead of everyone in baseball at this point. Shohei Ohtani is, I mean, we watched in front of our eyes. It was 3 glorious years of him dominating the sport, winning the World Baseball Classic with the heroic moment of not only scoring the game-winning run in the game prior against Mexico, but then coming in and striking out Mike Trout to end the World Baseball Classic. Like, we've had this 3-year hero's journey of Shohei Ohtani, and then it's over. And it's over in a day game in Anaheim.
Kyle, can I also add to, I'm actually just looking up, like, what is Shohei doing recently since this UCL tear? So for the first time in his career this past weekend against the Mets, he had his first career game with multiple extra base hits and multiple stolen bases. And the home run he hit apparently broke a light in Citi Field. Again, even injured, even with a torn elbow, what this guy is still doing as a hitter is just remarkable. Just the ball sounds different when it comes off of Shohei's bat. And he's still being aggressive. He's still doing all the things that a winning player does to elevate his team. Even that, like, is just not enough to get this team in the heat of a playoff race. Even injured, man, this guy is still so valuable to a team. I wonder when is the soonest we can honestly see him back on a mound, though, coming off if he does get that Tommy John injury. I think you probably have to write off next year. He's just not going to pitch at all. What do you think?
Yeah, 2025 is going to be the first time that we see him again. He'll still be a designated hitter. He'll still play 150 games in the season as the best hitter in baseball, who, as you said, is on pace to hit 60 home runs prior to everything that's happened this year, assuming that he has good health the rest of the way. Because I know he dealt with like blisters in his hand and a couple other smaller injuries. He had the index finger injury earlier in the year. So, like, assuming good health next year, he'll play 150 games, he'll bat, he'll be an all-star. He'll be maybe not the best hitter in baseball again next year, but hey, why rule it out? You know, he's done everything we've expected and more. So, I mean, it's been 3 years shooting across the sky. It's this magical story. And even if it never looks exactly the same as it did the last 3 years, it's still been absolutely remarkable to watch in real time. Even if they haven't made the playoffs, we still got a moment that some Major League Baseball players would say is better than winning a World Series, which was scoring the winning run at the World Baseball Classic and then closing out the championship game for Team Japan, right? Like, even if they didn't make the playoffs with the Angels, it was the heroic moment where we saw the greatness of Shohei Ohtani on carrying Japan to the World Baseball Classic Championship.
Obviously, every team could use a Shohei Ohtani. Where do you think that he ends up if like you had to start placing bets on popular landing spots? Who do you think is going to be the biggest players trying to make a pitch for him?
Well, I mean, you can never count the Dodgers out for going after any big name. That's the thing. He's going to want to go to a team that has a chance to win a championship. And initially selecting the Angels and being paired up with Mike Trout, you would think that duo would be enough to power them to a playoff spot or power them to even a pennant win. And it's translated into nothing. So, I think that any team that has a chance to win a championship right now is in contention for Shohei Ohtani. And I'd add any NL team that can get Shohei on that roster is a lot better off.
Hey guys, we want to give a big shout out to Zach Burrell for joining us on this episode. Zach's one of the outstanding hosts of the Boda Sports Podcast. Those guys do a great job of covering the NFL and fantasy football. Give them a listen and find links to their stuff in our YouTube description below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our stuff as well. From Juju, stay safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you on the next one.